So this visual here shows what we call brand architecture. Again, we often find a lot of companies obviously don't know this really exists, or they just don't notice it in the day-to-day. And when they're setting up their own company, this isn't front of mind, and it should be. You should be able to decide which of these three architectures you're going to sit in. Essentially, these are the three that you can pick from, which really simplifies your thinking, makes it a hell of a lot easier to decide where you're going to be going with the company. Now, people can struggle with thinking ahead and in the future. Well, I'm not sure where the company will go, but you can play it out. You can have a good think about the type of company it might be, and what potential avenues it might go down. And these three are commonplace. You'll see them all the time. These are just three examples: FedEx, Marriott, and Procter and Gamble. But the branded house or monolithic approach on the left-hand side, which FedEx take, will also be taken by the likes of Virgin or Easy Group. Virgin, for example, will share the same brand values across all of its businesses, even though it offers things very different from one place to another. So Virgin Media compared to Virgin Atlantic, two very different things, different audiences, but they share the values, and they just dial up and dial down the brand value depending on the audience. The thing with a monolithic brand is that it tries to keep some consistency. So a lot of the time that is driven by color consistency. So every brand has the same color palette. Each brand sometimes can have slightly different typefaces, but the overall look and feel, you know that it's an Easy Group company, a Virgin company, a FedEx company. It's all delivered in one way. Another way is the endorsed brand, which is in the middle, which is the Marriott Hotels in this example. And this is where the core brand and identity is played out in all the different things that it offers. So something that might be more visual and people see day to day would be the likes of Kellogg's or Nestle. So Kellogg's, for example, has its own logo across the top of its packaging, certainly on cereal boxes, and more recently made their logo even bigger on cereal boxes to make sure that they have standout. But then they've also got the product brands, so Rice Krispies, Cocoa Pops. That's what we know the product by. Each of them have their own assigned colors. So for Rice Krispies, you actively are thinking about pale blue packaging without realizing that you're doing it to try and identify that product. And it's the Kellogg's part of it that endorses the quality of that product. So if they bring out a new range of cereal with a new brand name, it's the Kellogg's part of it that makes you think, well, that's going to be a good product again, because it's got its history. And because of that, they want to use Kellogg's front-facing, same as Nestle would, same as Marriott do in this instance. So they're endorsing other brands that they bring to the market. And then you've got a house of brands on the right-hand side, in this case, Procter and Gamble example. Now, most of the products that they offer that you can see below, you wouldn't be aware of the fact that one company owns these brands. They produce different brands for different products, for different types of people and different types of audiences. And you know, if you look at the ones that are highlighted here, we've got Head and Shoulders and we've got Pringles, two very different things. And you probably wouldn't want to know that they're owned by the same company. You know, they need to be different, have their own identity. Equally, it gives some degree of protection. So if anything ever went wrong with one of the products, it's more the product name that would be penalized or maybe pulled off a shelf rather than Procter and Gamble. Obviously, the name of Procter and Gamble would come out in the news, but the memory that would last in the audience is about the brand that it owns rather than the core company, which means that brand could be taken off the shelves or isolated or reinvented at some point, but it doesn't affect the whole portfolio. So when you're thinking about your company, consider brand architecture, consider which of these three you feel your company would sit in, and it will make the journey a lot easier moving forward, because it's so much easier just to make a decision as to where you're going. If you're going to bring in a new product or a service, you pretty much have a formula for bringing that to market. rather than internal discussions or debates or questioning yourself, you'll actually have a way forward. We find a lot of companies grow and then make their own decisions and end up sitting in two of these architectures. And as soon as that starts to happen, then the whole thing becomes confused. You can clearly see it on people's websites that they are crossing over these two architectures. So if they're confused themselves and representing that to the world, then anyone engaging with their brand is going to be even more confused when they go to the website or try and engage with the different products and services. So give it some thought, really consider what type of business you want to be if you're starting up. But if you're in existence, you might find that you sat in one of these and didn't realize it, or you might find, which is the worst case, is where you sat in a couple of them, and that then needs to be rectified. So yeah, that's a little bit on brand architecture. Hopefully that's made it a little bit clearer, a little bit more simple.